Welcome to Ancient Geeks, a podcast where two old friends of a certain age talk about the development of geek culture from decades past to the present day. We discuss movies, comics, TV, and the written word. We were geeks before it was chic. I'm your co-host, Steven Taylor, and you can't beat me on the grade.
And I'm Tom Grant, your co-host, and you're wrong, mister. I mean, if you think you could just take that truck of yours and use it as a murder weapon and keep killing people on the highway, you're wrong.
Well, there you go. This week, we discussed Steven Spielberg's first feature-length film, 1971's TV movie, Duel. But before we do that, Tom, what have you been doing this week in geekery?
Well, so as usual, I have an anthology that I'm reading while I'm also reading a novel or a history or something else. And I've had for a long time the new Cthulhu anthology. I would say relatively new.
Is that like the new Shmoo?
It is. The new Cthulhu review.
Coming right at you.
Coming right at you. So, by the way, I own a lot of Lovecraftian anthologies. I have kind of an interesting relationship with the whole Cthulhu mythos because I'm not a fan of a lot of horror, but right. I am a fan of the Lovecraft mythos or the Cthulhu mythos or whatever label you want to slap on that, and that's a whole topic in and of itself. And this is a really excellent anthology. Like all anthologies, there are some duds in it, you know, and I read one just the other day that was really kind of bleh. But the other ones I read have just been terrific because they exemplify why I'm fascinated with this corner of geek culture, because there's something about the mythos that really brings out people's ingenuity in taking those sets of beings and tropes and so forth and placing them in all kinds of interesting and unexpected settings. So that's my geeky thing I've been doing lately.
Excellent. So I have finally started being a little more systematic about the Substack. So, although at the moment,
I haven't.
No, well, I mean, this is all about timey-wiminess at this point, since we're recording this so far in the future. So hopefully, starting in mid-June, readers will start to see more activity. I've decided that I need to create some categories. So I've created some things called pod notes, which are basically things that inspired me after we recorded the podcast that I wanted to write about. Also, some are just show notes, which are if we had enough research that was worth sharing, I've started to create some Substacks on that. And then I've got some other reviews and whatnot in the pipeline. So hopefully by the time you hear this has all been accomplished. But I know I've already scheduled, I think, 4 or 5 different things already with another couple of things in draft. So hopefully I can be a little more systematic. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, and I've got some book reviews and one movie review that I want to publish soon, but we'll see.
Anyway, that's been my geekification, at least at the moment. So let's turn our minds to Duel.
Soundtrack?
And I was going to say, what soundtrack did you have if we could afford the licensing?
Well, given my age, I picked Gary Newman's Cars.
Fair enough. But I went older than that.
Air in my car.
I took Roger Miller's King of the Road. So
yeah, that's a little bit more out of time than Cars.
Indeed. So as we I think previewed at some point, we're doing a 3-part miniseries here about first films by key directors and filmmakers. So this week is Steven Spielberg. Well, last week was George Lucas. This week is Steven Spielberg, and then next week's going to be John Carpenter. So we're in the middle of all that conversation. Let's talk a little bit of background about this movie, which again was a TV movie, which I'm amazed by. We'll get to that in a minute. The script was by Richard Matheson, who also wrote the short story upon which it was based, which was published in Playboy, which I guess Steven Spielberg read for the articles, apparently.
But also Richard Matheson, for those who don't know, writer of many classic Twilight Zone episodes.
Yes.
Just a lot of great short stories. Go back to anthologies again. Various movies that we've all seen, like I Am Legend. Anyway, he's a major talent and a big contributor to geek culture.
We discussed several of his episodes of Twilight Zone in our Twilight Zone episode. Some
yes.
months back now. This movie starred Dennis Weaver, and I knew who Dennis Weaver was, and mostly, of course, I can't see his face without hearing McCloud from
That's
MST3K. But
right. Or in my case, from watching McCloud. I
well,
mean,
that too.
when
We
I
watched
saw it,
McCloud as well.
yeah, I mean, when I watched this movie, I think one of the reasons we watched it was because it had Dennis Weaver, star of McCloud.
But he had a pretty interesting bio, right? I mean, he was in Orson Welles' A Touch of Evil in a
Hmm.
supporting role. I knew he was Chester on Gunsmoke because my
Yeah.
grandfather used to like to watch Gunsmoke reruns. But he was like a World War II Navy pilot. He finished sixth in qualifying for the U.S. Olympic team for the decathlon, which I thought
Yeah.
was, and he was also SAG president for a couple of years. Anyway, that's just sort of in passing.
So I have
And of
a, I have,
course,
I have a, I have a dumb Dennis Weaver joke.
go
So
right ahead.
there used to be a running joke around the house that, that Marshall Dillon on Gunsmoke had
Hmm.
Chester and
Right.
Festus as his
Yes.
sidekicks, kind
Yes.
of twitchy, weird guys.
Right.
Anyway, you could mash them together and make one sort of ultimate sidekick, Chestus, out of Chester and
Sure,
Festus.
of course. Of course.
By the way, the Touch of Evil performance was great, and it apparently was one of the things that attracted Spielberg to casting
That's
him
right.
for this role.
Yeah.
He's this night manager
Hmm.
who is kind of a creepy character. Anyway, the lead of this story isn't a creepy character necessarily,
No.
but he's got a little bit of a kink, and we'll talk about that later.
But yeah, I mean, I read multiple, and maybe it just is because the word get inserted and people can get out of their heads, and you used it too. But every time I read about the Touch of Evil performance, he was always called Twitchy.
Yes.
Everyone that I read. So yeah,
Well, he's one of these
was
guys. He plays one of these guys that you're sitting still, and he's in the room with you, and you want to jump out of your skin. He is so twitchy in a random way, like you don't know what he's going to say or do next. Anyway, he did a good job in that role, shall we say?
so yeah, he did. So Spielberg is very early in his career. He's already broken into TV a little bit. He had his first, and we mentioned this again at some time in the past, and I watched it as research, and I think you did too.
Yes.
I'd never seen it before. You had his first TV piece was a night gallery story called Eyes, which I thought had some innovation in it for a TV show, but I also know that the studio kind of wouldn't let him do some things he wanted to do. It was a very Twilight Zone-esque episode of Night Gallery. Of course, it was written by Rod Serling. It felt more Serling than Spielberg, but of course, it was his first TV job. What did you think of Eyes, or what did rewatching it tell you or
Yeah,
anything?
I watched it just a couple of days ago, and you could see a few Spielberg touches in it,
Hmm.
about a visual storytelling. For example, Tom Bosley is this poor guy who's
Yeah,
going to,
yeah.
lose his sight so that he can give it to Joan Crawford. And that's the whole eyes part
Hmm.
of the story. And anyway, there's like a conversation he's having with a bookie who's threatening him, and they're on like one of those little carousels, those spinny things on a playground,
Hmm.
and they're talking, and he's spinning around and around, and
Yeah,
there's this sort of spitting motif that happens in the show. There's a couple of other uh, spinning moments
yeah. The
in this
camera moves quite a
episode.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a big part of Spielberg is
Hmm.
sort of emotion in the cinematography is a kind of important part of his visual style, and a couple of other nice touches. Like when she collapses, she can't see anything, but she's
Right.
supposed to be seeing things. It's all black, and there's a
Hmm.
nice overhead shot of her kind of
Yes.
crawling around on the floor. Anyway, you could see a little bit of Spielberg there, but he's also limited by the constraints of all like the weird lighting,
Right.
the 360 lighting that you had on TV shows.
Hmm.
And anyway, it's not great, but it is, interesting that the first episode of this series features a Steven Spielberg story, which was his first
Right.
directorial effort.
They did some other stuff on TV. Marcus Welby, the
Yeah.
psychiatrist. Some of those shows I didn't write down. I don't remember them. I didn't recognize the names. I think his first, probably the biggest thing he did after Eyes was a Columbo episode, which I think he used that tape to help get this gig, as I
Yeah.
understand it. And so Duel was his first feature film, but it was on TV. So how did you first encounter this movie?
There was probably an advertisement that we saw, coming up this Thursday or whatever it was first
Hmm.
broadcast on the network. Maybe a TV guide ad to reinforce that, but we definitely watched it. And again, we watched it mostly because it was Dennis Weaver. We were
Right.
fans of McCloud. Uh, and that guy was the prototype of the crusty lieutenant, maybe. I mean, I think, the boss that is always telling the maverick police officer or police detective, you can't do that. You can't do that in this town. You can't get away with that. Anyway,
Yeah.
sort of a lovable grouch. But also, this was the era of the weird horror TV movies,
Right.
which we mentioned before when we talked about the Night Stalker and the Night Strangler, and there were some other ones, Gargoyles, Trilogy of Terror, the wonderfully titled Satan's School for Girls, that were regular viewing fare in our household. And there was an interesting sort of moment in TV when TV producers realized, and certainly the Night Stalker reinforced that there's an appetite for this, a 2 hour with commercials,
Right.
weird movie. In this case, with a guy being chased by a demon truck, or is it a demon truck?
We'll find out. Maybe we won't.
I remember that question coming up. Like, is
Sure.
this some sort of infernal machine that's
Right.
chasing him? Even before we saw it. But anyway,
So I saw it for the first time this past week. So this is
hmm
I knew it existed.
yeah,
I think I'd seen the poster like online or something somewhere.
hmm
And so I knew cars were involved. That's all I knew. So I
yeah,
came in this totally cold. Um, in fact, I think in my head I thought it was going to be more about like I don't know, like gangs and cars or
hmm
like some kind of like I don't know, cars fighting one another. I'm not quite sure what that means, but I don't know. But I did not know what it was about. Anyway, so let's talk about it, shall we?
okay,
Let's just do a real quick. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward story, right? I mean, it's
yeah.
basically what would you be? Could you give us? You used to do this to me all the time. Can you give a one sentence a summary of this movie?
Oh, absolutely. So a man is off on a business trip, and he becomes the target of an unseen evil opponent who is trying to kill him with his ugly grime and oil encrusted truck.
There you go. Truck tries to kill business
Truck
guy on
truck
trip.
bad.
Truck bad. Yeah,
There's my one line
truck bad.
summary of it.
Okay, so I've got in the notes here. I've got like seven specific moments, and I'll run
Yeah.
down them, and then we can talk about them, right? And we can talk. I
Yes.
mean, some of the little summary thing, and then we'll get into specifics. So it starts off with an opening driving scene, right? It's
Yes.
you don't see the character at first. It's him getting into his car, backing out of his
hmm
driveway, and driving through Los Angeles onto the freeway and into the countryside. And it's I actually found it kind of it drew me in.
Yes.
It was really well done in a way that I didn't expect. He's also listening to the radio, flashbacks to AM talk radio back in the day.
Right.
It was I was really
With the
impressed with this
prank
opening scene.
caller.
Oh yeah, all the stuff. So what did you think about this scene? And at this point, we haven't encountered the truck yet.
Yeah.
So it's just driving, and we're getting it's ambiance. It's interesting. What did you think?
I thought it was terrific. I know
Yeah.
that it was added later.
Oh, was it?
I read something that said it was for the theatrical release, it was one of just like a few minutes worth of footage that they added. I
Hmm.
thought it added a lot. I
Yeah.
think the kind of the mindset you get into when you're in a car
Hmm.
and you're just rolling along and you're stuck in traffic, but then things ease up. It's sort of an altered state that you get in
Yeah. Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you're driving, and I thought it was really good at establishing that because this is a movie about driving.
Right.
So, I mean, that's important to do.
So I had an interesting experience So when I first started watching the movie on Amazon Prime Video, where I'd rented it, it started in black and white.
Hmm.
And I don't know how I don't know if it was part of you're doing this whole thing with Spider Noir, which I have not watched. You can watch it in black and white, you can watch it in color.
Right.
So I don't know if something that I did started in black and white. At first I
Huh.
thought it was in black. I really thought that it was going to start in black and white and then at some point go color. I thought there was
Right.
some kind of artistic thing going on. And I got to one point, I'm like, this is never going to turn color. What's going on? I know this movie's in color.
Yes.
In fact, it says in the intro, in Technicolor. So
In color.
I finally got it. I just stopped and started it back and it started in color. It was very strange. But the funny thing is, it works in black and white
Oh,
really
interesting.
well. It really worked in black and white. Anyway, but anyway,
Well,
so
and by the way, for everybody listening here, this is set in Southern California.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
which
I'm
is
glad you
of
said that.
course,
Yes,
yeah, which is of course a place defined by driving,
yeah,
right?
that I was gonna. I'm glad you said that because I thought about it when you were talking about just
Yeah.
the state of driving. I mean, it is. I mean, you're from California. I lived in California for a while. In fact, I was just in California not that long ago. And yes, the ubiquity of cars in California, the importance of cars in California, and the freeway, and also the contrast in the beginning between suburbia and Los Angeles, and when you get outside of the city and you're in the desert. I
Right.
think because again, I think an important part of this movie is it takes place on a lonely desert highway
Right.
where there's not a whole lot of places to go, right?
Yes.
You're kind of trapped. And we'll get back to that, I'm sure. So he's
Well,
driving
it
along,
really sort of,
but
I'm sorry to interrupt.
no,
I just want to say that it really sort of captures from the beginning then all the sort of devil's bargain you make by living in a place like Southern
hmm
California. I mentioned Garden Grove, by the way, on the radio. That
no, I didn't
since
notice
I
that.
since I lived there when I was a teenager, that caught my attention. Anyway, so that you have to deal with all the frustration in the road
hmm
rage,
hmm
in
Oh yeah,
going through the more settled areas, and then you're aware of the low level risks that exist always when you're
hmm
driving out into the California desert. You've got big trucks, you've got the car that could break down,
hmm
you've got other drivers who might be driving recklessly. If you're stuck somewhere, then you're in the middle of the desert, which is a fairly menacing seeming
yes,
place. So I thought this movie really got that. And even if you
and
didn't live in Southern California, you could understand that particular set of feeling about sort of, again, it's sort of a constant low level discomfort that you
sure,
have being so dependent on cars in these different settings.
and accentuated at the time by the lack of cell phones.
Yes, right.
You really are isolated in that sense
That's an excellent point. Yes.
because he's got to find like payphones to call people, and it's just a whole different experience. I think about that almost all the time when I watch these older things about how cell phones change narrative and how
Right.
they can affect like how you would think about doing this. I mean, yeah, sure, he could lose his phone if this was set in 2026, or his phone could die, or he could have no cell service. But it's just a different kind of thought process, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
again,
So
if you're in the car now and you drive away, even if your phone dies at some point, they can figure out at least kind of where you were by where your find your iPhone thing was when you disappeared. That's not
exactly.
true in 1971, right? Anyway.
Oh no. And what I wanted to kind of say as the punchline is that in this era when there were so many horror TV movies,
Hmm.
these are the horrors with which people can relate.
Sure.
The fear that a truck is going to hit you and you're going to spin out of control off the road and be killed, or other things. You get lost, and no one's there to help you because you don't have a cell phone. You're isolated out of the desert. Just maybe since you're on a very uh, untraveled road, that it's going to be a long time before anybody comes and finds you.
Sure. Yes. So I'll point out one more thing about this scene because I think it's relevant to a theme in the movie. Again, there's the AM radio and it's a these all
Mhm.
call-in shows, and at first it almost seems just like it's ambiance, right? But
Right.
you know, the one of the callers is calling in. It's a male. He's talking about the fact, and of course, again, this is 1971. How he is basically what we would call a stay-at-home dad, taking care of the kids, and he was having to fill out his taxes and trying to determine who the head of the household was. But he's the man, but he stays home with the kids. So this sort of subtext about masculinity is given to us at this point. And of course,
Yes.
that plays out more in later, but that's, I think, important to point out. So then he's driving along, and he's a two lane road. He comes up behind this nasty truck, right? It's spewing smoke. It's rusty. It says flammable on it, which I thought was Chekhov's flammable truck, which didn't quite ever come to pass. But he passes the truck on the road because it's going slow, as one does. But after he passes it, all of a sudden the truck races up behind him, tailgates him, and then passes him, and then he gets in front of him, and then slows down. And they have this sort of dance for a while, right? Until he finally goes to a gas station to get gas. He goes, but the truck also pulls up to get gas at the same gas station. It's all very threatening. We never see the driver, right? And then he goes, he gets there's another one of these things about, there's two things in this scene about masculinity too. And also we get Chekhov's radiator hose, which it does pay off later.
Yes.
Where old school, for those of us who are old enough to remember, or who live in New Jersey still, full service gas stations, right? The guy's checking under the hood. It says your radiator hose needs to be replaced, and Dennis Weaver's character basically says, "Yeah, right, whatever." Basically, assuming it's all sort of a attempt just to upsell him on something.
Right.
And he says, "Well, I'll deal with it later." And the attendant says, "You're the boss." And he says, and Weaver says to himself, "Not in my house, I'm not," or something like that. So
Right.
we get this other thing about, which then calls back to radio call-in show. And he goes in and calls his wife. It's a great, the scene, I love the blocking of this scene.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's sort of down the corridor of the gas station / laundromat. He's on the phone talking to his wife. This is when I realized I'm watching it in black and white still.
Okay.
And in fact, this is when I quit it. And this can't be right. The shot where and it's in the notes that I sent you, but he leans up against the wall and he puts his foot on the counter.
Yeah.
It's down this corridor. It's just a fantastic shot, in my opinion.
Oh, no kidding. And then later he later has the door of the washing machine frame.
The lady comes in and opens
the nested windows all the way out to,
it's fantastic.
to the parking lot.
But he calls his wife to apologize for some fight they had, apparently at some party they were at. Again, this is the other masculinity thing, right? Where she says, "Well, I forget the guy's name.
Bob.
Frank, Bob, whatever.
Right.
He practically raped me in front of everyone at the party." And he's like, "Oh, come on, you're exaggerating. What do you want to do? Have a fist fight with the guy?" Anyway. And then they end that phone call, not in a pleasant way. And he gets back on the road. And then the truck attacks basically in the next segment, right? This is when it gets really, really much more intense.
Yeah, but even before then, I just cannot emphasize enough, being a native Southern Californian, how the initial setup reflects lived experience on the road.
Sure.
In Los Angeles, Orange County, San Diego County, places I know really well, that letting somebody get in front of you is an affront. That if somebody passes you, it's as if someone has basically emasculated you completely.
Sure.
And that sort of constant measurement of some sort of organ size on the road just made the whole experience stressful all the time. I'll tell you I'll tell you the opposite of that. I had a consulting gig one time where I went to the United Kingdom. And I was at kind of in and around Cambridge, and I had to turn off my American driving habits because the Brits were so polite. I was trying to merge, onto the highway, and I realized, okay, I got to get ahead of everybody. I've got to get ahead of everybody. It's like, no, they're just going to let me in. Why am I why am I such a jerk? Well, it's because I'm from Southern California, where we are doing a lot of dick measuring all the time.
It is the case whenever I return to California to drive that I feel like I'm in a race. Maybe not a duel, but a race for sure.
But there's this consciousness of your standing as a human being is somehow based on your position in traffic and how much
Traffic
you
is
can control of that.
traffic is
Yeah.
pretty
I mean,
central.
I don't live in California anymore,
I will
but
say, I will say at least people in California know how to merge. People that I drive around here, I don't know, man.
oh,
Merge
really?
already. Oh, it's
Yeah.
terrible. Anyway.
Huh.
At any rate, so we get, I'm not trying to go blow by blow, but the menace and the threat of this truck accelerates during the next set of scenes, right? And it
Mhm.
culminates with, in fact, Dennis Weaver's character crashing the car into a fence at a diner, right? And he goes into the diner, and then the diner scene is, you know, he goes in and he realizes the truck is in the driveway or in the parking lot, and there's all these men in there sitting at the bar. And the only thing he's seen about this driver is his boots, but everyone's wearing boots. They're all wearing jeans.
Yeah.
He's trying to decide whether he confronts the guy, whether he leaves. Although I'd have a question at this point: why don't you turn around and go home? There are a couple times when I'm like, why didn't he turn around and just go home, man? Um,
Well,
but
there's a big question midway through the movie,
yeah,
which really struck me on this particular watch. Like, where is he going after a certain point? Like he
exactly.
knows he's not going to make the business meeting he has
That's
set
right.
up that was so important. He
That's
hasn't
right.
even bothered to call the
I
person
noticed
he's
that
meeting
too.
with.
Yes.
So he's sort of lost again in this contest that he's having with the truck driver.
Well, I mean, I think in the diner scene, it's almost like there is a bit of a mental breakdown, right? He's
Yeah.
paranoid. He's inner monologuing with himself about what to do. He confronts one guy who ends up not even being the driver of the truck.
Yeah, that was my quote at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That was your quote.
Yeah. Who takes a
And
swing at him, multiple
yeah, oh
swings
yeah,
at
there's
him.
a fight and he throws him under the pool table
Yeah.
and
By the way,
eventually,
there's a great Spielberg shot, I think, young Spielberg shot when he's in the diner and
mhm,
he's sitting in a booth
yes,
and the camera is on the other side of the counter, so you can see
hmm
him in the background, and it moves across the counter.
yes,
All these different people who might be the truck driver that he's thinking of, but they're all just sort of blandly
that's right.
having their coffee and hamburger and minding their own
Hmm
business. But you can see him, bug-eyed, staring at them like, which one is it?
Yes,
Which one is it?
that's right.
Terrific shot.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very tense scene. It's a really well done scene.
Yeah.
I mean, not just the fight he has, the minute what you described. Also, at one point,
Uh,
there's one guy he thinks is the guy, and he's going to go to the truck, but then he ends up he's getting another truck. It's like all
right.
this. The tension's building in this whole thing. And in fact, I saw one clip of Spielberg talking about this scene in particular and the influence of Hitchcock on him on the way he
Yes.
filmed this. And I think that it's very Hitchcockian this moment, right? The threat and the tension and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, this is this is Cary Grant and North by Northwest trying
Yeah,
to
yeah,
figure out
yeah.
where is the blow going to land from this time.
That's right.
Yeah. And
And
that's also that great handheld shot, where
yeah, that's right.
he goes to the bathroom. It follows him. He comes
Hmm
in the door. He goes to the bathroom. He kind of refreshes himself.
hmm
He says, "Okay, it's all over now. I'm safe. The truck's clearly gone on." It
Right.
follows him back out to the front
hmm
of the diner, and he sees the truck in the parking lot.
Yes, that's great.
Great, great shot. And I think one of the commentaries I saw pointed out quite rightly that handheld shots at this time were very challenged to be smooth,
Yes,
and this was a very
yes.
smooth handheld
It's
shot.
before Steadicam was invented.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I also know, and also the cameras were very loud back then, so
yes,
they had to do all the audio afterwards because
right.
the camera's just mechanically loud.
But it's so worked. It's worked
It
so
did, yeah.
well because you're in his head at that
hmm
point about like, oh my God, it's over. Like, but as the audience, we know, well,
Right.
okay, we're
Oh
we're
no, it's going
only
to be.
20 minutes into the movie, so
Yeah, that's
it's
right. There's
probably
that.
not over.
That's right. Absolutely, absolutely
Yeah, it
true.
wasn't about
The
his pleasant ride where he makes the business meeting and he reconciles with his wife and all is
that's
well.
right. The end.
The
Yeah,
end.
exactly. And I think, and then of course, then there's another set of driving, and the truck gets even more and more aggressive, right? I mean, I think there's like
Yes.
it escalates over time, right? At first, it's just he's being a jerk by in the first scene where he just gets in front of him and slows down.
Hmm.
But then it escalates. And in fact, I think, a little bit of a psychological element to the way the film is structured. Because at first, you're like, well, is this truck just an ass or is he dangerous, right? And then, but
Yes.
clearly by this point, of course, by the time he causes the wreck, but then he's like doing all kinds of different things to Weaver's car, like trying to push him into a train and all this other kind of stuff.
Right. Well, he tries to like get him to get Dennis Weaver to pass, and
Yes.
then the
Oh
truck
yeah.
driver waves his
Yeah.
arm out, and then there's a car coming the other way that
Yes.
Dennis Weaver can't see, so
That's
it's
right.
almost a head-on collision.
That's right. Right. So it becomes quite clear he's trying to kill him at this point.
Right.
And eventually he goes to this also a very typical desert thing, the Snakeorama. Again,
Yes.
try to make a phone call, but he's trying to call the police at this point.
Hmm.
And of course, this is also when it becomes quite clear that this truck is just out to kill the guy because he like almost runs him over in the phone booth.
Right. Yeah. This huge truck is
Yeah.
barreling at him in the phone booth, and he gets out at the last second, and then it smashes all the cases full of snakes and tarantulas and other
Yes.
critters.
And the poor woman with her snakes can't
I
get her
know.
snakes.
Yeah. God, I felt so bad for her and the critters.
And then so then all this escalates and escalates and escalates, right? Until he, in fact, I think to your point, when he like stops to let the truck like clear out and like
Yes.
falls asleep for a while. Like, why didn't he go again? Why didn't he go home? What's he doing?
Yeah.
What's going on
Where
right
is
now?
he going?
Yeah.
No,
And clearly he's not going to the meeting.
he's
Yeah.
completely trapped in this duel.
Yes. And this then leads to this final chase where he eventually manages to. I thought about that Roger Zelazny short story from Dangerous Visions,
Oh
with
yeah,
the
the auto da
Mechador,
fe.
right?
Right.
It's almost like a bullfight at the end, and he
Yes.
finally like manages to like wedge his briefcase to keep the car going, and then runs his car into the truck, which
Hmm.
then leads to a spectacular crash off the top of this hill. And again, I don't know what it looked like on
Wow.
TV in 1971, but in
Yeah.
HD, it looks awfully good.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The this is the dirt and the dust and the way in which the truck body falls down the hill. I kept expecting an explosion for the flammable truck,
Right.
but
Which
by
would
the
be a
way,
very TV thing
a very TV
to
thing.
do.
But I mean,
Yeah.
also, I mean, it said flammable. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought, in fact, when I first saw the truck, I thought that it was going to blow up early in the movie, and that was going to lead to some other thing. I don't know why I
Hmm.
thought that, but that's what I thought.
Well,
All right,
and when it goes off the cliff, it
mhm.
is like a huge beast
Yes,
dying.
yes,
You know,
yes,
it's done in slow
exactly.
motion. We've seen this again, this grimy, oily
Hmm.
thing, before,
Hmm.
now this beast from hell is the horns blaring.
Hmm.
So it's the truck's death roar as it goes off the cliff, and we're still not seeing anybody. I mean, that's
No,
so much a part of this movie is not seeing the driver.
that's right.
And
Although there's,
the stunt man jumped out, which of course, but anyway, it's like again, the mystery lasts until the end, and
yes,
we see the wreckage of the truck at the bottom, and there's like an interesting sort of close up shot of the truck. You don't see the whole thing,
right,
you can see part of the cab and a wheel slowly turning, and a little
yes,
bit of blood dripping.
yes,
So
yes,
probably this guy's dead.
right,
Yeah.
right. But no, it's pretty amazing. Do have to point out that at least the radiator hose did blow at one point,
Yes.
as that came to pass.
Right.
Anyway,
And we got reminded about it later.
oh yeah, it comes up twice.
Yeah.
I think the Snakeorama lady also tries to sell him a radiator hose, but
Yeah. So that's the moral of the story.
that's right. Pay attention to your radiator hose.
That's right.
Okay, so and then the last scene is him just sitting on the edge of the cliff as the sun sets, and it's really,
It's
really striking.
Yeah, it's very hollow
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
after all this. He's won,
Yes,
but what has he won? His car is destroyed.
right,
They've gone down this side road that
right.
seems like no one's gonna come find him down there. He's got to trek back to the highway and pray that someone stops for him. The person who was trying to kill him is dead,
Yes,
but what's he going to tell the police? It's a very, as I said, it's a very morally unsatisfying ending.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Well,
Yeah,
in Duel 2, he gets
that's
picked up
right.
as a hitchhiker, and then a new fight starts with a
That's right. He's
yeah.
chased by an ice cream truck playing Turkey in the Straw in a creepy
There you
fashion.
go. There you go.
At what point did ice cream trucks become creepy?
That's
Because
a
there
great
is a
question.
point in American culture where
Yeah, they did.
stopped
It
being
it
pleasant and started just being menacing.
it it probably somehow linked to clowns.
Dee 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 dee.
Anyway,
Undoubtedly, it's always clowns. Clowns ruin
sure.
everything.
Absolutely. So anyway, so what grade did you give this movie? Overall grade.
I gave it an overall grade of an A minus.
So I gave it an A. This is one of these things. Grading is often contextual. Part of it's because it's a
Yeah,
70s TV movie.
I know.
It,
If you added that to it, I'd bump it up to an A.
yeah. I mean,
I think there's a little padding in it.
sure,
I
there
think
is.
that was the reason for the A minus, but otherwise it's a terrific movie.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of put some of the padding thing in the grade for spring play. Sure, screenplay.
Uh,
I give it a B plus. What did you give it?
I gave it a B plus too. Yeah,
There
again
is a little bit of.
because of the padding,
I mean,
because of
part
the
of that
pad.
is you got to make time for your TV movie. And you
Yes.
also have to have commercial breaks. Although I have to admit, I didn't really notice where the commercial breaks would have been.
Boy,
I
that's a
wasn't
great
too,
point.
I wasn't
Yes.
too conscious of it. I often am. Even on streaming
Yeah.
shows now, you can tell the ones you watch without commercials where the commercial breaks are.
Well,
But
sometimes the TV movies would have an obvious segue to commercial.
yes, yeah, yeah,
Music would rise. You'd have somebody kind
yes,
of,
exactly.
having a surprise expression at some surprising
What?
turn of events. And yes,
Yes,
exactly. But here there wasn't anything. But there were other TV movies I remember that did
yeah,
abruptly cut to commercial
yes.
and come back.
I think I noticed on some of those Night Stalker ones we watched. I
Yeah.
could tell what the commercial breaks were.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so how about acting? This is going to be a short segment.
Yeah, since there's really only one actor and a lot of character actors.
Yeah,
I gave Dennis Weaver a B plus.
I gave an A minus. So what's the B plus?
Uh, I don't.
I mean, it's all fine. I
I
can see B
mean, just
plus.
sort of being frightened and kind of looking back. I
Twitchy.
don't know, twitchy. But okay, so maybe an A minus. I think he really did capture the obsession part of it,
Yeah, he did.
which I think is important because again,
Yeah,
there is a point in this movie where you have to ask yourself, what's he doing?
right. Oh no, multiple times.
And you have to kind of be caught up with him, and he
He
did
held my
convey that.
attention. He
Yeah.
held my attention. So
Yes,
there's
he
that.
did.
What
Yeah.
would you give the evil truck? The other
Oh,
actor in this
A.
movie. Yeah, me too.
The evil truck is fantastic. I mean,
Yeah,
again, it is this behemoth covered in bugs and grime and
and rust.
oil. And I guess Spielberg picked a truck that the front of it looked like a human
A
face.
face. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
terrific.
I just think I would just say generically the supporting cast. I just gave him a B.
Yeah, B. I mean, just the kind of people you cast who were reliably good character actors, like the Snake Lady.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I will say,
like the first gas station attendant he
yeah,
meets.
yeah. I'll point out that Gene Dynarski is the guy that he has the fight with, and who is probably the guy that has the second most lines in this movie.
Okay, yes, that's true.
He made an appearance on Ancient Geeks before, right? Because he was in Close Encounters.
Hmm.
He was in the original Star Trek,
Okay,
and he was in TNG.
what was he in the original Star Trek?
He may have been in twice. I know he was in the episode where um, the Crowded Planet. I'm blanking on titles right now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Where they beam Kirk over to steal his bacteria or whatever the hell.
Yes, a cunning plan.
He was one of the people on the planet, but I think he may have been in another episode. But he was in when we watched TNG. He was in 10101, whatever the one with the binars. He was the
Yes,
station commander.
right. The Mark of Gideon.
Mark of Gideon, thank you. And then he was also one of the Mandelbaums in Seinfeld.
Oh, okay. A sterling career
Yeah,
of
sure.
character acting.
There you go.
That's
Anyway,
fantastic.
anyway, How about the cinematography?
Oh, A minus. I said I
Yeah,
did. Yeah,
I
I mean
get
it's
again.
difficult because you're grading it against
Yeah,
other cinematography from television at the time. It's all outdoor shots.
yeah.
You know, thank
I
God. Right.
I gave it an A, but again,
Yeah.
it's grading as a TV movie, especially for one in
Yeah.
1971.
Yeah. I maybe an A. I don't know why I'm being a little tougher.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
Sound.
Well, direction in general, I would say, holy
I
moly.
skipped. Oh yeah, I skipped direction. I skipped them with the
Yes.
acting. I'll give it an A, especially for a 70s
Oh,
TV movie.
A. Maybe even an A plus for me because
Yeah, that's
because he
fair.
shot okay, so they shot this in 12 days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And instead of storyboarding it, according to some of the background videos we watched, he had a map of
Yes,
where they were going to be going down the highway through the
yes.
California desert and the different points at which they would shoot
Hmm.
particular scenes, where the cameras would be arranged, and so
Yes,
forth. That is pretty damn genius directorial work
it
there.
was, and the use of cameras and the angles on the evil truck in particular,
Yes,
but just the way they filmed the car motions were really impressive.
yes,
I guess they he, he borrowed or was able to utilize something that they used when they filmed the movie Bullet
yeah.
to get the
The
camera angles.
car, yeah.
Yeah,
All
the car with
the shots of like following the cars, or you were
yes,
like it's a point of view shot from the car or the truck,
yes,
are incredible. They're just
yeah, they are. They really
yeah,
are.
yeah. And just overall, since he was inspired by Hitchcock, this is really a very good homage to Hitchcock.
No, it is.
Like over the years, there have other been people who've been in love with Hitchcock who've done homages. I think like Brian De Palma was very
Hmm.
overtly trying to recreate the Hitchcock magic as master of suspense. Far less successful than this. This was suspenseful from the moment when the conflict starts
Yes.
between Dennis Weaver and the truck driver. And also
Yeah.
never seeing the driver.
Yeah. I never seen
Thank
the
you,
driver's
Steven
report.
Spielberg, for making that choice.
And that was a
That
good
is
choice.
perfect. Yeah.
But it is a great shot selection. And we already mentioned the shot through the door of the washing machine. But there's a
Yeah.
lot of he does do a lot of framing of shots that I really appreciate. Like there's one where it's underneath the truck toward the road with when Dennis Miller.
No.
No, Dennis Weaver stopped in the freeway or the highway.
Yeah.
And there's a great shot where he's stopped there looking at the truck and a car's coming from behind. You can
Yes.
see it over his shoulder, basically out the
Oh
window as
yeah.
it comes closer and
It's
closer.
fishtailing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That was great.
it was great. There's just a whole bunch of great shots. Anyway, and again, I can't say enough about the truck because a truck crashing is that happens. How many times I've seen a truck crash? But I really was impressed by the way it went over that cliff.
It
It
was
just,
such a meme in TV shows and TV movies of this era.
yes,
Mannix would be driving down the road with McMillan and wife in the back seat, and the brakes would have been tampered with, and it's swerving around, and
right, right,
it
right.
goes off the edge of the cliff. And anyway, there's so many cars that went off so many cliffs
Yes.
during this era that for this to stand
Well,
out,
not to mention Toonces, the cat who could drive a
that's
car.
right. Exactly.
Anyway, um,
Toonces,
that's
a
right.
metaphor for current America.
There we go. Oh my goodness. So how about sound?
Uh, I think I gave it an A. Oh, I did give it a grade, but I'll give it an A. It
I
was,
give it an A. The sound is the sound of the truck horn, but the sound in general is just really, I think, important to this movie and
yeah.
well done. Special effects.
Oh, A.
I gave it an A minus, but yeah,
Yeah.
A. It's again the crash scene by itself and just
Yeah.
about the soundtrack.
I I gave it a B. It's hard even to notice it playing in the
That's what
background.
I wrote.
It's a very 70s-ish TV movie soundtrack or
Yeah.
TV episodic series soundtrack, but it's better than average.
I gave it a C plus, which is slightly better
Yeah.
than average, I guess. But
Slightly.
yeah, I barely noticed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me see here. I mean, I may have already hit all the ones I wanted to, but are there any standout scenes that you wanted to
I
highlight that
think
we haven't?
I think we covered them, and again, just kind of creating a particular state of mind,
Hmm.
where people are lost in their animus when they're driving.
Hmm.
Fantastic. And I put down, I think it's important. The devil doesn't make you dance with him,
Hmm.
right? So he doesn't have to do this. He could turn
Right.
back. He
Right.
could
That's
cancel
right.
the meeting. He could go back to his wife. They could have the conversation they clearly need to have,
Right.
but he doesn't.
Right.
And I think that is just a genius theme for this
Hmm.
movie.
I agree.
Yeah.
I did appreciate, by the way, that even though there are all of these clear background references to masculinity, that he never
Hmm.
overtly says, "I'm going to prove I'm a man."
Yeah. But that's on his mind.
Sure, but that's
Yeah.
fine. I just didn't need it to be in my face.
Right.
And I think a worse story, a worse script, a worse director might have put it in
Yes.
your face. Yeah. So, is there anything about the movie you didn't like?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed watching it again.
Yeah.
It was something I know I watched at least once on repeat, a
Hmm.
rerun of it
Hmm.
on television at the time. And I'd seen it maybe one other time after that, maybe on VHS or something.
Right.
But I really enjoyed it still. And
No,
again, any movie where you are going to be watching it, everything that's going to happen. It's a
right.
suspense movie
Yes.
that's based on the idea that you don't know
Right.
exactly what's going to happen, but it's still exciting. That's a success. And I didn't feel like there were any scenes that were out of place or,
Right.
added because they wanted to pad out the screen time to put it into theaters that seemed, unnecessary. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to know what happened to the snake lady. Did anyone help her get
We
all the
find
rattlesnakes
in Duel 3,
picked
we
up
find out.
in Duel 3? Mamie's Revenge.
Exactly. She's driving around throwing snakes into the open cabs of all the trucks, trying
There
to
you go.
find. Anyway,
Why did it have to
uh,
be snakes?
so how is this movie Spielbergian?
Oh, it's very. I think we've talked a lot about the cinematography.
Yes.
I don't think there's anything else I wanted to mention on that. I do want to say that some of the parts of the script, it's not necessarily that he had input into it, but maybe the kind of script that attracted him, or kind of knowing what sort of story Richard Matheson would write.
Right.
An everyman protagonist, that's
Hmm.
very Spielbergian.
Sure.
Spielbergian.
Spielbergian.
Bergian. And the fractured family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Right.
those are
That's true.
two very Steven Spielberg plot elements. And when I was watching the kid on the floor, when
Oh, right.
he's
That's
calling
right.
his
That's right.
wife, it's like that could be me at that in 1971,
I was
playing
just
with the
thinking,
space toys. Major Matt Mason on the floor in
there
the
you go.
living room.
Well, it reminded me a little bit of a neater version of the Close Encounters house.
Yes,
Um,
yes, yeah.
so I think
Which
the thing's,
still astonishingly jam packed with
oh yeah,
gewgaws and toys. That house, wow.
yeah, indeed. I was thinking about the gripping nature of it, the ability to sustain the suspense and interest, I
Yes,
think is Spielbergian, but also just the camera use, the way he uses the camera is just
right.
really impressive. I mean, I think as we look at a lot of these artists and we look at these films a little more critically to prepare to talk about them, I'm just becoming. I mean, I've always thought Spielberg was great. I think
Hmm.
I'm thinking he's even more great than I thought he was, quite frankly.
Yes, yeah, same here.
It's
I've grown to appreciate a lot more about his filmmaking
yeah,
because again, his photographic style
yes,
is so much about motion, and this movie is completely about motion.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's yes, it is.
Yeah, but
So
I'd also say it doesn't make the mistake of a lot of action movies today where there's no there's no pause. There's no point to regroup, figure out let the protagonist figure out what to do next, for all of us to kind of catch our breath a little bit following the protagonist's plight. The beats where he goes into the cafe and he's trying to figure out the identity of the truck driver, if indeed the truck driver is in there. That moment before that where he realizes that it's not all over yet, that the truck is still hunting him. You need those,
right?
But with the exciting scenes, you need the downbeats along with the upbeats.
So I will ask before we move on.
Yes.
So was the truck a supernatural creature?
It's impossible to tell, but I remember when we watched it that we had that conversation. Like, was this the devil behind the wheel of that truck? And kind of had he wandered into, where the Thomas guide tells you hell begins,
Right. Well, I mean, he'd already been
going
to Georgia.
off Highway 5 or Highway 101 in Southern California. I think I was looking for a more definitive sign, whether it was or wasn't, and I didn't see it. What do you think?
I think it was just a crazy man in a truck.
Yeah.
But I can see the notion that it was something else.
Yeah.
It seems demonic at times.
Oh, definitely.
But I mean, the closest thing to evidence is the blood in the truck.
Right.
But
that he's mortal.
That Satan's mortal, or did
the truck driver was mortal?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if it had been something very obvious, like if he went to the wreckage of the truck and the cab was empty,
right?
I think that would have been
I think
more
the ambiguity
of a way of hammering that nail in that this was a supernatural entity. But it does suggest that we often inflict the sins of the world on ourselves.
Sure. I guess for me, the movie works better if it's just two obsessed people.
Yeah.
Than if it's something else.
Right.
But I could take the argument the other way. Anyway. So then we go to the merch question. Did you have any merch?
No, there wasn't any merch. I didn't even have the poster, as much as I enjoyed this particular movie. I don't remember ever seeing it for sale. I probably had it on VHS at some point, or beta, but I think that was the only thing merch adjacent I would cite.
Yeah, I'm looking at the poster. It's actually kind of funny. The top line is the most bizarre murder weapon ever used. I'm like, okay, maybe not. Anyway,
maybe not. There's probably a really great movie poster from Poland, because usually like Eastern Bloc countries, when they got movies from the West, they did fantastic posters, just complete off the wall spins on it. But no, I didn't have the poster.
It also says the killer's weapon, a 40-ton truck. The victim's only defense, a startling trap. I don't think we need any of that.
A startling trap?
A startling trap.
As opposed to the completely expected trap.
Sure. Anyway, what would you want? What would you want if you had to have merch from this movie?
I don't know. His yellow aviators were pretty cool.
They were very 70s. That's for sure.
They were very 70s. I mean, if I wanted to go to a 70s party,
sure,
I would definitely need those aviators.
Since I think I did a Hot Wheels car last week, I'll do a Hot Wheels cars today of his car, but a beat up version, like right before he rams into the truck.
Right, and it goes off the cliff.
Yep. Anyway, so
one take. That had to be one take.
Yeah, indeed. Didn't your resets on that one? Anyhow. No. All right. Well, having now driven through the desert, I think we've come to the end of this episode of Ancient Geeks. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. I'm going to go head off to the diner here.
Well, not the Snake-orama? Come on.
Not the snake. Well, later the Snake-orama.
Of course. After dinner, after lunch.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.
Since we can see the giant monster truck in our rearview mirror, we better hit the gas and get out of here. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe. And also, drop us a line sometime at someancientgeeks@gmail.com or leave us a review on the podcast app of your choice. You can also find us at Substack at someancientgeek.substack.com, where we post regularly about things that don't make it onto the podcast, but are nonetheless extremely geeky. And you can also find us at Facebook, Blue Sky, and other social media outlets. All content is copyright 2026, Tom Grant and Stephen Taylor. Music by Reversed Image, whom you can find on Pixabay. See you next time. Okay, let's start over.
Let's start all over again. All right, let me pick. I had another one.
Okay, no, I'll do another one. I'll do another one.
All right.
All right.
Good Lord.